Well, good evening and welcome to Carter County Mayor's Hometown Hero presentations. We have 4 tonight. It'll be a short program. We've got some of our commissioners yet to arrive, but we'll go ahead and get started. And the commission has made preparations downstairs in the main lobby for a short reception thereafter. They really are in support of this program, and they would like some more time to fellowship with the people that are being presented tonight, and that's why we're here early. We're starting at 5 o'clock. So that will give us up to an hour to do the presentations, and that will give them some time downstairs to fellowship and get to know all of the recipients here tonight. And they've went to quite an extent today, so if you could spend a few minutes with them, and then they'll be back up here at 6 o'clock to start their commission meeting, which is will be on time. Tonight, like I said, we have 4 people that will be presented, or groups. The first group of Hometown Heroes traces its origin back to the January 1998 catastrophic flooding of the Doe River. In 1999, the Carter County Planning Office was pursuing the development of a community park on some of the properties that had been turned over to the county by FEMA. Using state and federal grants to build a park, the concept for an organization to maintain this future community park was fleshed out by local citizens and the planning office. That solution was the Roan Mountain Recreation Foundation, established in September of 2000. The Roan Mountain Recreation Foundation is a nonprofit 501c3 organization that partners with the Carter County Parks and Recreation Board to operate and maintain the 27+ acre Roan Mountain Community Park. Its current membership of approximately 30 volunteers maintain the community park with the assistance of the Carter County Work Annex of the Tennessee Department of Corrections there in Roan Mountain. Many local citizens and businesses also contribute to the maintenance of the park by volunteering skills and assistance that are beyond the abilities of all the members of the Roan Mountain Recreation Foundation. In their last fiscal year, which ended September, approximately 450 hours were donated by local citizens and over 1,800 hours by the Carter County Work Annex just to maintain the park. It's a tremendous effort. It takes many people to maintain this. Part of the Roan Mountain Recreation Foundation charter is to develop additional recreational opportunities for the community and county where such opportunities arise. They raise money through donations and grants. Since their inception, the Roan Mountain Recreation Foundation has worked with various organizations to provide the following improvements to the park. 2006, Roan Mountain Citizens Club, there was a 9-hole disc golf course put in place. 2008 and 2009, multi-purpose building, which consisted of bathrooms, equipment storage, and concession stands. 2010, water fountain and benches. 2013, T-ball field. 2017, a wonderful stage/pavilion, which took an additional 300 hours by citizens and approximately 1,700 hours by the Carter County Work Annex to build this new stage. This year has been a particularly busy year for the Roan Mountain Recreation Foundation. In addition to maintaining the park for picnics, birthdays, car shows, class reunions, they also help facilitate events in the park. These include Roan Mountain Appalachian Trails Community, Appalachian Trail Days, Roan Mountain Farmers Market, Roan Mountain Community Garden, several musical artists, Tuesday Tunes, Todd Burleson Memorial Stream Cleanup, the OVTA, Carter County fourth graders OVTA field trip, Roan Mountain Citizens Club, and the annual Christmas tree lighting there in the park. Just a tremendous asset to this community. The foundation's president is Mr. Matt McKinney, who is with us tonight. Vice president was with us tonight, Eric Anderson. Board members are Carol Ann Mitchell, Bob Fondry, Birgit Perpinski, and Bill Watson. Bill is with us tonight. So, you know, it's obvious to me that the Roan Mountain Recreation Foundation is committed to making Carter County a better place for us all. We're truly blessed to have a dedicated group of volunteers of this caliber. These are wonderful people which possess an incomparable level of community pride and ownership. Please help me welcome the representatives from the Roan Mountain Recreational Foundation, all three of these gentlemen. Matt, Bill, we appreciate you. Let me just present this to you. This is get right in there. This is a small token of appreciation of myself and the commission as to gentlemen. Any of you like to respond?
You want to say that, man?
I want to add one thing.
Come over here, Bill, so you can talk into this and they can.
He mentioned all the parks that we got going on, and we're adding another one. We started it actually last summer. Russell Sutton and I. Down when you go into the prison, the railroad grade, there's a big area in there, and we kept it bush hogged. It was part of the flood. Kept it bush hogged all summer, and it's called Happy Trails. And we're getting some grading. Chris Schuler's been up there grading it. And the purpose of it is we're going to have horse trailer parking for people on horses. I'm working and have been working for 5 years with the National Forest to get horse trails up on the mountain. We're getting closer, and they've delayed me another 3 months as normal. But anyway, what we're going to have is horse trail parking. We'll have parking in place for paddle people, bass fishing people, trout fishing people, and bikers and hikers. That'll all be for them to come down there and park. It's right off the road, and the fish people and about people, they're really excited about it. So we look to get some help from them, and anybody has any money they don't need, we'll be willing to take it, and be asking the mayor probably for a lot more on down the road. But it's really going to be another great opportunity for Roan Mountain. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
I'll be very brief, and we want Eric to say a few things. Every community needs a place, a park, a bench to sit on, or something. Every community. And, you know, the good Lord above, He's the one that started this park in Roan Mountain. When the flood came through, there were so many people lost their homes, lost their lives. But through some vision of some other people that are not here right now, and we wish that they could be here because they were the starters, they were the people, and we've just been able to continue what this group of people started. But don't get bogged down by the negatives. You're going to be faced, anytime we try to do something positive, there's going to be so many negatives. Please don't get bogged down by the no's, and we can't do that. Or, you know, that's too hard, or it's too difficult. You have to strive to continue to make better for the community. So thank you very much.
I just add a few words. First of all, something like a community park like ours, it requires, and we are so blessed that we have the support of our district commissioners. It's interesting that when I'll share a couple, when we're down there cleaning up things or we're working on something, they stop by. They also come up with ideas too on how other things we can do, and we kind of have a thing that we do, which is when someone says, hey, you know, I think we need this in our park, you know, or, hey, have you ever thought you ought to do that? Our response usually is, great idea, and would you like to help lead that effort? And so that's how we, and actually when we first started doing that, people kind of go, well, golly gee, and they walk away. But nowadays, what is amazing is, in this last year, one of the churches came over and said, you know, this area over here needs to be cleaned up a bit. I said, would you like to do that? They said, well, I guess we could. And they did. And we've also transformed from people that would walk the tracks and say, you know, there's some trash out there. Now people walk the tracks and they pick up the trash. And so everybody kind of helps a little bit, and particularly our businesses up there, they help out quite a bit too. And it just makes you filled with joy to see kids playing in a park, whether it's t-ball or whatever, or down in the river. And we would invite you, come up. We're mainly a summertime thing. Come up on a Saturday for a farmer's market. It's a very small farmer's market, but it's fun. Come up on a Tuesday night, on almost every Tuesday night, there's some musicians that just show up on the stage and start playing musician. The Over the Mountain Victory Trail folks, they've had 2 years now where all the fourth graders from Carter County come up to the Roan Mountain Park, and we have a big setup display for them, and every one of the kids gets to learn about what it was like to live here when people were really tough, and what the Over the Mountain Victory Trail people. So sometime, you know, when you're lost, don't have anything to do, come on out to Roan Mountain and stop by. We'd love to see you. And thank you.
One thing that I have to echo here is the spirit of community service. I've been here now 7 years, 3 months, and 10 and a half days in counting. But only in the last year have we seen the community, the citizen involvement, the element that's so critical to success. And the Parks and Rec Board, for the last 2 years that we formed, we are so blessed to have people of that caliber on that board, because they have taken just a small amount of money and have done great things. And they're looking in all neighborhoods and communities to provide the same type of assets that these folks back here have done in Roan Mountain. And you know, I've been to Roan Mountain a couple of times here recently, and those folks are really interested in their community. Town Hall, we had 40 people show up, and that's amazing, you know, because you just can't get people off the couch many times and come out. But those people were there, they had questions, they needed answers, they wanted to have the direct interaction. So I really appreciate Roan Mountain. I appreciate the Recreation Foundation. I appreciate all the citizens, and I appreciate this Park and Rec Board that we have here working for us now, because they're doing great things. The Greek Civil War was fought in Greece from 1946 to 49 between the Greek government army, which was backed by the United Kingdom and the United States, and the Democratic Army of Greece, the military branch of the Greek Communist Party, backed by Yugoslavia, Albania, and Bulgaria. The Civil War resulted from a highly polarized struggle between left and right ideologies that started in 1943. From 1944, each side targeted the power vacuum resulting from the end of the German-Italian occupation during World War II. The struggle became one of the first conflicts of the Cold War, and represents the first example of Cold War power post-war involvement in the internal politics of a foreign country. Greece, in the end, was funded by the U.S. through the Truman Doctrine and the Marshall Plan, and joined NATO in 1952. The next person to be honored tonight was born in Greece on October the 16th, 1936. The events of the Greek Civil War yielded considerable damage to his family's home and property. His uncle George Pandapapis lived in the United States. Pandapapis held a patent for a form of silver solder, which had resulted in him being granted a federal military contract. He had manufacturing operations in New Hampshire and New Jersey. He loaned our hero's family $850 in that they could come to the United States. He also guaranteed the U.S. government that he would take full responsibility for the family of immigrants and gave assurance that the family members would not be a burden to the United States. The boat trip across the Atlantic took 14 days. He arrived in his country on April 30th, 1951 at the age of 14 and a half. He initially landed in New Jersey and could not speak a word of English at that time. Being an immigrant, the school years were extremely difficult. The teachers exerted a lot of effort in helping him overcome the many challenges that resulted from not being able to speak fluent English. However, the children were also making fun of his word pronunciations. Despite the communication barrier, he felt extremely blessed in that he had been given such a grand opportunity in coming to America, and felt an obligation and urgent need to do something for this great country. While in high school, he worked as a soda jerk at Marshall's department store. The husband of his supervisor, at Marshall's, was serving in the Marines. The reputation of the Marines was a good one of tough men serving and protecting their country. At 16, he decided that he would join the ranks. Parental consent was required. After much deliberation, his father, who had served in World War II, finally agreed when he reached the age of 17, granted the consent. Thus, he enlisted in the United States Marine Corps in 1953. He was sent to boot camp in Parris Island, and then more extensive training in Jacksonville, Florida. After that, he was then assigned to the Marine Fighter Attack Squadron 531 and stationed at the Marine Corps Air Base in Cherry Point, North Carolina. While there, he became an accomplished aviation electrician and served his country well during his discharge in 1956. Afterwards, he went to work for Ford Motor Company and later Chevrolet in Cleveland, Ohio. He also did some security details, engaged in police work and police training. While there, he met a girl from Stony Creek and was married in 1959. It was a simple civil ceremony with Mr. Ross Smith, then Carter County Commissioner, performing the service. Employment opportunities were not as good in Carter County as they were up north, so he remained in Cleveland. In 1971, he had an opportunity to purchase the Linwood Hotel and Cafeteria. He also managed the bus station restaurant and Raymond's Country Club during that time. In 1974, he felt a career change was needed. Therefore, with his security experience and training, he was given a job working as a deputy under Carter County Sheriff Harry Buckles. In a short period of time, he developed a great track record of arrest. Being extremely fearless at that point in his life, he had no problem bringing in those fugitives of justice that so many other law enforcement officials would not seek out because of their violent and lawless reputations. He made the arrest without major incident, and without serious bodily harm. He quickly secured the trust of Carter County citizens and was encouraged to run for the office of sheriff in 1976. He was elected to a 2-year term. He worked diligently with the General Assembly during that time to implement minimum requirements for the office of sheriff for all those candidates that were seeking that office. He ran again in 1978 and was elected to a 4-year term, ultimately serving a total of 6 years as sheriff. After that, he worked for the U.S. Postal Service and then entered retirement. He's always cherished Carter County's God-given beauty and vowed to never forget or turn his back on the people that entrusted him to serve as their sheriff. Please help me welcome Mr. George Papantonio.
Speech.
I think there was a speech from you, George.
Okay. Needless to say, that to me, Carter County is the best people in the world. I want to cherish the honor of the Navy. And I will never forget or turn my back on. Politics is a game that very few desire to play. And today, we have a lot of problems with the war. If they would have let us back then to finish the war in Korea, we probably would have been better off today. But it was not meant to be. And I want to thank each and every one of you for the honor that you bestowed on me. I will never forget Carter County in no way. Thank you so much. And Leon, thank you.
Thank you, George.
From the bottom of my heart, I know that you got Carter County in your heart. And you tried to do everything you can for them. I just wish I could do something to help you to achieve the goals that you got in mind for Carter County. And I appreciate you. You know what I mean? Thank you for this blessed bestowal.
Well, thank you for your service to our country, George. We appreciate
I'll
you.
do it
Okay?
again anytime.
Thank you. Political service is not for those that are faint of heart. It's not for those people that are afraid to, that you're going to insult somebody and feel that they have to always be politically correct. If you're in that mind frame, you don't need to be here. And I don't think George, based on his reputation in Carter County as our sheriff, was ever in that frame of mind. So you did a great job. 6 years of service to the county. All the time that he served our country during that war in that unit, we appreciate it. We appreciate all of our veterans. The Korean War was a war between North Korea with the support of China and the Soviet Union, and South Korea with the principal support of the United States. The war began on 25 June 1950 when North Korea invaded South Korea following a series of clashes along the border. The fighting ended 27 July 1953 when an armistice was signed. The agreement created the Korean Demilitarization Zone to separate North and South Korea. The next hometown hero was born in the Hampton community on December 10, 1931. While a small child, his family moved to Roan Mountain. He attended Tiger Valley, Hobson, and Cloudland schools. He lived in Roan Mountain until entering the Navy in 1951. His ship was commissioned in South Carolina, with home port being Norfolk, Virginia. His primary job aboard ship was to serve as a boiler tender. He was responsible for the operation of stationary steam boiler and all auxiliary steam equipment such as pumps, compressors, and etc. While aboard ship, it was imperative that steam be maintained constantly at a specified pressure. His ship patrolled the Mediterranean during this conflict, the Korean War, and was always ready to respond in the event of confrontation and battle. In a 6-month time frame, the ship traveled to 17 different countries while on patrol, standing, waiting, ready. He married on September 21, 1954. At the end of his term of honorable service, he received a discharge from the Navy while in Long Beach, California in February of 1955. After returning home to Roan Mountain, he realized there were also limited employment opportunities in East Tennessee at that time, so he moved his family to Annapolis, Maryland. There he secured employment as a service manager for Chevrolet. This enabled him to provide the needs of his family, which consisted of his wife Jeanette, 2 daughters Billy Ann and Kathy. After 10 years with Chevrolet, he decided to open up his own business, an automobile body repair shop, which he ran for approximately 20 years. At that time, he decided it was time to move back to East Tennessee. He purchased a home here in Elizabethton and went to work for an insurance business by the name of GAB in Bristol. He worked there for 16 years and finally, at the prime age of 80, decided to retire. Please help me welcome Mr. Billy Lyons. For your service to our country. Thank you. I'd like to present you with this plaque from myself and commission for your service in the Navy during the Korean War. Is there anything you'd like to say to the commission?
Did it from the country. That's all I have to say. I love Tennessee, I love Lawrence County, and I love my country.
Feels good to live in a county where you've got such a high population of veterans, people that love their country, love their state, and love their county. And if they leave for any point in time, they come back here because this is God's country. If you would bear with me just a minute before we do the last presentation. This being December 11, four days after December 7, I think it's imperative that we play a very short 4+ minute video to bring all of us back to that time.
And representing, I have the distinguished honor of presenting the President of the United States.
Vice President, Mr. Speaker, members of the Senate, of the House of Representatives, yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. The United States was at peace with that nation, and at the solicitation of Japan, was still in conversation with its government and its emperor, looking toward the maintenance of peace in the Pacific. The attack yesterday on the Hawaiian Islands has caused severe damage to American naval and military forces. I regret to tell you that very many American lives have been lost. In addition, American ships have been reported torpedoed on the high seas between San Francisco and Honolulu. As Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy, I have directed that all measures be taken for our defense. But always, with our whole nation, remember the character of the onslaught against us. No matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people in their righteous might will win through to absolute victory. I believe that I interpret the will of the Congress and of the people when I assert that we will not only defend ourselves to the uttermost, but will make it very certain that this form of treachery shall never again endanger us. Hostilities exist. There is no blinking at the fact that our people, our territory, and our interests are in grave danger. With confidence in our armed forces, with the unbounding determination of our people, we will gain the inevitable triumph. So help us God. I ask that the Congress declare that since the unprovoked and dastardly attack by Japan on Sunday, December 7, 1941, a state of war has existed between the United States and the Japanese Empire.
It's just hard to imagine the extent of the emotion that was going through everyone's mind at that time. World War II, war being declared, the tremendous loss of life at Pearl Harbor. And here in the United States, once that war was declared, then countless people stepped up to defend this country. We have one of those people with us tonight. The next hometown hero is a World War II veteran. He was born on May 2nd, 1922, here in Elizabethton. After his schooling, he worked as a machine operator at the North American Rayon Corporation. On June 1, 1941, he married the love of his life. 1.5 years later, on November 17, 1942, at the age of 20, he entered the active service under the United States Army. His initial point of entry was Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia. And just keep in mind, here, communications, as you've heard me say before, at that time weren't good. His wife gave birth to the first child 1 week after being deployed. Just think about that. During this time, there were basically no communications between the enlisted forces and the family back home. He was assigned to the 104th Timberwolf Division of Company K, 415th Infantry. During training, he was awarded the Expert Infantryman badge in 1944. After his training, he was deployed to the European theater on August 27, 1944. For 11 months, he served as a squad leader on the ground, marching and engaging in battle after battle after battle across France, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Germany. He was awarded the Bronze Star for heroic achievement in connection with his role in military operations that took place in Germany on December 5, 1944. This brave soldier volunteered to lead a patrol to ascertain the route of approach and the route of the enemy. He accomplished his mission, and then taking his Browning rifle, directed fire on the enemy, inflicting heavy casualties. These actions aided greatly in driving off a large enemy counterattack. On numerous occasions, he exposed himself to keep fire directed on the enemy, and his courageous actions are a credit to himself and the armed forces of the United States. He was also awarded the Combat Infantryman badge in December 1944 and the Distinguished Unit Citation in 1945. There was a tremendous loss of life during this phase of the war. These men did not know who would be the next casualty of combat or casualty of the severe effects of inclement weather conditions. This soldier was fortunate in that he never sustained any serious physical injuries. His field jacket and metal-clad Bible, both sustained damage by artillery fragments. He didn't. One of his most cherished mementos is a German flag he took from an opera house in Cologne, Germany. It's a red field with a white disc and a black swastika positioned at a 45-degree angle. The disc and swastika are exactly centered on the red field. This German flag is extremely special in that it has all the names of his platoon members written in the white disc. After the war, he returned home to Elizabethton, worked at North American Rayon Corporation, and retired there after 52 years of service. He's a devout Christian and has been a member of C Street Church of Christ here in Elizabethton since 1945. He's been a wonderful father to his son and daughter. He also has one grandson and a great-granddaughter. On June 1st of this year, he and his wife Virginia celebrated their 76th wedding anniversary. What a blessing. It's truly an extremely rare and wonderful blessing for this family and this community. Help me welcome Mr. Ivan McQueen. Mr. Glenn, he likes to take pictures, so let's get over here.
Who's gonna get over?
Here, let me give this to you. Present this. Come on in here. You're part of this. Thank you. Ivan, this is just a small token of appreciation for your service in World War II, your service to our county. Okay, thank you. And thank you because you kept the home fires burning all that time, didn't you? Thank you. Would you like to say something, Ivan?
All I can say is that I thank you. It's very nice. Looks good.
She didn't have that much to say. Isn't this wonderful? We appreciate you. Yeah, when I was up to talk with Ivan, he showed me that field jacket in that Bible. And if there's anything that'll touch it, that's it. I appreciate everyone coming tonight, and if you would please, the County Commission has a small reception downstairs. They've got some cake and punch. They'd like to fellowship with you. If you could take just a few minutes to meet them down there, I would appreciate it. Thank you. Freddie didn't look too happy just
Let's come to order for the meeting of December the 11th, the Carter County Commission Board of Commissioners. For those of you that didn't make the reception, presentation and reception at 5 o'clock, it was a very good event. We had a wonderful time downstairs with our guests and our honorees. They did just a wonderful time to spend with them, and we're very fortunate and blessed with their service in this county. Director Smith's going to come forward and give us the egress plan for the courthouse.
Good evening.
Good evening.
For anyone who may not have attended a county commission meeting in the past, should an event arise that requires us to evacuate the building, our primary evacuation route is the south entrance, which is the monument side of the building, and we would assemble in the parking lot in the rear. The secondary evacuation route is the stairs across from the elevator, and again, we would assemble in the same parking lot. We do have an AED located downstairs next to the elevator. Hopefully we will not need that. And last but certainly not least, the restrooms are located on the first and second floor on the north end of the building, and the second floor is handicap accessible. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, we call the roll, please.
We're missing a controller back here.
Al needs this. I don't know how it ended up here. I did hear from Scott Simmerly that he will not be be.
Do your roll call.
I have not heard from Doc. So we do have a quorum, 22 present. Thank you. Next agenda item is to approve the agenda. It is before you. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. Commissioner Ward, primary, secondary, Commissioner Ross Carter. So the agenda is, well, I guess we'll do the vote now for approving the agenda. So we have to approve and nay to disapprove.
I didn't hear it.
To approve the agenda. All ayes, thank you. Commissioners, if you do not hear me, as Mr. Von Cannon obviously did not, just raise your hand or let me know, and I'll do my best to speak up and use my outside voice. If you will rise for prayer, to be led by Commissioner Campbell, stay standing, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Commissioner Cole.
Dear Heavenly Father, God, Lord, once again, Lord, you've given us another chance, God, to put our feet to the floor and take another breath. God, we praise you, Lord. God, we thank you for this season that we're approaching, Lord. We know, Lord, it's your birthday, Lord, and we pray, God, that each and every one honors that. God, we pray, Lord, to know that you give eternal life, that you give your Son, Lord, to be a gift, Lord, that we really appreciate, God, to lay down for us. Lord, tonight we do pray for each one that's here. Lord, we just pray, God, that you bless each one. Use each one, Lord, according to your will. We pray for the country, our leaders. God, we pray for this commission, Lord, that we make the right decisions, God. Lord, we do pray, Lord, for each and everything that's said and done here tonight, Lord, we will honor you. God, we ask these things in your name. Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this moment, we want to recognize elected and appointed officials. So if you are elected or appointed in Carter County, please stand and be recognized. Next agenda item is to approve the minutes from the November 20th, 2017 commission meeting. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, seconded by Commissioner Grindstaff. Madam Clerk, call the roll. To approve the minutes of November 20th. Approval of the minutes from November 20th. All ayes, one abstain. Minutes have been approved. At this point in the agenda, this is where we invite people forward for giving public comments. So if you'd like to speak to the commission, please come forward, state your name, and we will recognize you. Mr. Mattioli.
Hi, my name is Charlie Mattioli. I serve on the County Parks and Rec Board, and I'm also director of the Tri-Cities Senior Softball League. And I'm speaking on behalf of, which you're going to be considering later, this piece of land off of Gaffney Road, 9.3 acres. And we're getting it for a fantastic price. One of the owners is donating half of his interest for a tax credit. And so you'll hear more about, the amounts. But what I wanted to show you is that there are no softball fields left in the Elizabethton area, and most of you know that for adults. 900 people used to play in church leagues. Men's league and co-ed leagues. We'll get at least 2 softball fields here. And just to show you what else could be made in the corner there, you see a dog park, pavilions, that's Gap Creek Road running, Gap Creek actually running in blue there. And we plan to put a walking trail around there so people can come and walk and get exercise. This is the first park in western Elizabeth, and it can serve the people in the West G and the Powder Branch and Gap Creek corridors. And I'm here tonight hoping that you will support this because our county needs it. And with this land, we will be able to apply for grants from the state and develop this. We also have a letter of intent for $10,000 in-kind worth of in-kind services from Mr. Grant Summers to help get us started on this. So I ask you all to support this measure when it comes up. And thank you very much for letting me speak.
Thank you, sir. Others, please. I didn't say that, I forgot to remind folks we have a 5-minute time limit, so.
Just won't take me long. I would like to say just a few words about the importance of parks in our community.
Pardon me, can you state your name?
I will. I'm Mike Melton, a board member of the Carter County Parks and Recreation. I represent the 8th District. I've lived all my life, all my 67 years in Elizabeth in Carter County. When I was a young boy in the 50s and early 60s, I would play at Harmon Field, along with others from the Cat Island, East Side, Circle Drive, Main Street, where I live, and all around the city and county. We would play baseball and football. We learned to get along with each other. We played Little League baseball at the Cherokee Fields, and back behind the Little League fields were the softball fields. We don't have Harmon's Field or the Cherokee Fields anymore. The new highway took Harmon's Field and the Industrial Park, took the Cherokee Fields. Parks are a place for kids of all ages to play, to relax, to get in touch with the environment, and maybe get in touch with our Creator. This Gap Creek property is a perfect place for a park. The Gap Creek runs serenely through the property. The 9.3 acres is mostly flat. I asked that the county commission approve the money for the purchase of this property. And I'm sure the residents of our community will be proud of this park. They'll be proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Livingston, did you want to address? I think I saw your hand.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Roy Livingston from Hampton. We sat here a while ago and watched a bunch of veterans in here, all the way back to the Second World War. And some of them's got some pitiful tales, and some of them all together, and some of them are not. Now those kind of people that you people right here represent too. And when we come in here and ask for monies and stuff, where some of these monies and stuff are that's not accountable, you're screwing them just as well as you are the rest of the taxpayers. They're the ones that's paid the ultimate price for all this. And this seems that you're making a mockery of them. But you sit here and you set a budget committee, and we've asked and asked for a worksheet of this past budget committee before they set this budget with some numbers on it, what you had to work from, not to this date that we got it. So I don't know where the accountability here is. It appears that it's not anywhere. And then you can keep balking and holding on as long as you want to. We're watching this money, and it don't make any difference. We're going to stay on it until something happens. And you're either going to put us in jail or put somebody in somewhere or something. You just can make fun, snigger, giggle, do any one thing you want to. But this money belongs to the taxpayers. And some of you are taxpayers too. Your portion of it's in here too. And should at least look out for your own kids and your daddy and your mama and your grandmas. But you don't appear to care about anybody. A lot of you. Some of you try, at least a few of you just try, the rest of you just snigger, giggle, go on like, this is your town. You don't own nothing here. I own as much as you do, you own as much as I do, and every individual in here that pays taxes owns as much of this building as the other one. So you need to kind of look at this whole picture and think that you're not working for yourself, which most of you act like you are, and you're looking out for your own benefit. All these other people out here count too, especially these veterans, because, like I said, they have paid and paid and paid as long as time's been, that if it hadn't been for them, you'd have never had this opportunity today to be here. But you need to come up with some of these deals on this money and stuff and tell us where some of it is, just like all this school money we're still paying for. We're paying for 2 schools, continue to pay, and they're already paid for on the books. Should be, but the debt's paid, but we still pay. And I don't understand, and I don't think you can make me understand unless you just beat me plumb into the ground that you don't pay for something forever. There's a cutting off date somewhere. And you can ask these questions and they just look at you. And I was told by one in the finance department at one time here where the money was from McClellan School, and there's 12.5 million of it. I said, where is it? They said, it's gone. I said, gone where? It's gone. I said, wrong answer. Now, how does stuff just get gone? If you can account for it, you need to cough it up and account for it. Now, you can make fun of us and act like we accuse you of stealing or whatever. The money's somewhere. Had to be. And until you fix the finance department of this thing and the budget part of it, Carter County is as far forward as it'll ever go. So somebody needs to make some kind of moves to do something. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
If I can, just one quick comment, like I said, last month and probably the month before that, the items that Mr. Livingston is referring to not receiving, he has not submitted a public information request for. If he does, I'd be glad to get those for him. You should be fully aware of that by now.
Thank you, Mr.
Make a comment too. Mr. Livingston, we appreciate your time and participation and coming to the meetings and being part of this. We greatly do. But you're talking to, I sit on the budget committee and several others that do. We got a finance department that to me is doing a great job, and we trust that the job that they do. You know, I'm new to this. I've been here, going on 3 years, and there's still a lot of stuff that I have to learn and that I'm trying to learn. And that's why I put my trust in the people we have in these offices, and I think they're doing a good job. We have internal audits every year. Comptroller's office just came back that report, and no misdoings, anything illegal. And like Ms. Bird said, I think you need to request those documents if you want to see those.
They have been requested, but we don't ever get what we want. They give us 150 pages and they do find answer.
Thank you. Mr. Kent?
Robin McCamey, I think everybody knows me by now. I'm going to talk as fast as I possibly can tonight. I've been waiting over a year for this. I hold myself very high, to a very high standard. I have parents, I have students that look up to me and expect and are influenced by my actions. And what I've been finding by just wanting to help animals is that I have been basically, there's one person that just has set out to make sure that none of us have the spotlight turned on him. And what I want to tell you tonight, I'm just going to read it really quickly so that I don't miss anything. So I apologize if I'm not looking at you when I'm speaking. I love helping others. I love helping the animals of Carter County that are in need. And I have high integrity. And I'm asking, where's the integrity of our leadership? We have a county leader who has questioned my integrity and made me feel harassed and bullied for trying to help animals, and I'm sure others feel the same way. There's a lot in this room tonight that I know do. This has been happening for over a year. turning that spotlight off of himself by making others out to be animal abusers, thieves, all. He should have known it was all untrue. Not only do I feel slandered, but so do several other people trying to do good for the community and for the animals. The comptroller report is in, and I'm sure you've all read it. There's nothing in there that states any of us did anything to the animals. No abuse, no theft. What it does state is that there were 14 issues with management, and we've all heard over and over, month after month, who's in management. It was made very loud and clear. My question would be, if the mayor declared himself management for the last 2 terms of office, and there were a total of 14 issues found with the management items, who's going to be holding him accountable? The mayor's never shown any evidence to me that he cared about the animals or the kind-hearted souls that were giving everything they had in them to run a shelter understaffed and underfunded. This mess has been going on for over a year, and we've all heard comptroller report, comptroller report, comptroller report, and it's in, it's here. So now, what I want to know is, where do we go from here? Maybe we need to have our own report. Maybe we need to have our own investigation. Maybe, just maybe, slander is a real thing and can cause real damage. We all know where the blame is here, and we all know who the video camera is always pointing at. Maybe it should be turned the other way. You might find some interesting things. I know I'm not the only person in this county that's noticed the extra raises people are getting and the extra 300 hours of comp time people are getting to help the animals when there's several of us working full-time jobs that are out here full-time at night doing the same job. Where are the jobs? Where are the jobs that are supposed to be pulling in? Exactly what are we paying these extra amounts for? Again, maybe we need to look at this. The harassment has to stop. The daily harassment of asking for things to keep people from doing their jobs, reports. We teach our kids it's wrong to bully, and allowing a grown man of power to bully his way around the county to get what he wants is just not acceptable. We need to make sure that we don't tolerate bullying on unfounded claims, which is exactly what happened here. I have a 3-inch notebook that I've carried around and collected over the past year to prove everything I've gotten up and spoken about. I would never get up and tell an untruth. The comptroller's report found truth. The only thing that was wrong was they didn't point out how understaffed and underfunded the shelter was before management stepped in to take over. What about after the mayor took over, all the animals that are allowed out of the shelter unaltered? Who do you think is going to have to deal with that now? What about the 11 cats that one person took? Who paid those fees? Who altered those animals? Spayed and neutered. There's plenty of questionable things that have happened in the absence of volunteers like myself. I just pray that the people of Carter County will see what it really is and what's really happening. Now all the volunteers and rescues that are wanting to help are all afraid of being investigated, which means harassed. So they just stay away. Now you can't get people in to help because there's been so much damage. We need to stop bullying good people trying to do good things for the animals. And I would say that straight to the mayor and tell him to take Elmer Gantry with him, because we all know who Elmer Gantry is.
Mrs. McCamey, your time is up.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any others that wish to address?
My name is Brenda Persinger, and I would just like to say that I had the honor of being in the same room again the other day with a prominent, well-respected lady from Carter County that she does support our mayor in various things and has for years. And she told me that she offered the mayor a check to give to the animal shelter. She is not aware that he is not affiliated with the animal shelter anymore, and I never told her that he wasn't. And I just wish that if someone in the future offers him a check, that he would direct him to the shelter. She in the past has been a big supporter of the shelter and wants to continue, but she no longer drives, to my knowledge. And also, I would like to ask our mayor, what happened to the freezer at the animal shelter that, to my knowledge, was government property that disappeared after he took over the shelter for a time there? It's never been brought back. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there others? Please.
Hello, my name is Brittany Madden, and if I may, Danny, would you please come up here for just a moment? Danny Ward. Robin McCaney and I are the main members of Appalachian Tales, and we would just really like to thank Danny Ward because if it wasn't for you, we would not have been able to raise you would not have been able to help us raise over $1,200 that went directly towards the animal shelter. Appalachian Tales didn't receive any of those funds. So I would love to thank Danny Ward, from myself, Robin McCamey, the Fosters, and the animals. Thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts, because if it was not for you, we would not have made that money. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others to address the commission? Seeing none, let's move to notaries and bonds. Madam Clerk, if you'll read the list of the notaries and bonds.
Craig Mayfield, Robin J. Allen, Tracy N. Truitt, Joyce N. Eastep, Sherry J. Leonard, Kathleen R. Taylor, Fannie R. Norris, Elizabeth A. Glover, Amber Fatico.
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion to approve notaries and bonds made by Commissioner Culler, seconded by Commissioner Hill. Any discussions? Mr. Von Cannon, you understand what we're doing? Can you hear me? Notaries and bonds. We have a motion to approve. Notaries and bonds. All ayes, thank you. As we recognized, I think last year, I know it's been a little bit longer, this body wanted to rejoin the Chamber of Commerce. Unfortunately, we never have quite completed that task in recognizing someone from this body to represent us at the Chamber of Commerce meetings. So we need to do that this evening. I talked with Director Tanya Stevenson, and they will be meeting, their board will meet in January. It will not vote on board positions until the spring, so we just need representation there to be a part of the chamber functions. Commissioner Lyons.
Okay, I nominate Commissioner Garland.
Commissioner Garland has been nominated.
Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I nominate the Honorable Charlie Von Cannon.
Are there other nominations? Commissioner Garland and Commissioner Von Cannon are the two nominees.
Motion to cease nomination.
Okay, we cease nominations. By Commissioner Ward, seconded by Commissioner Dees. So we need to vote on ceasing nominations. Madam Clerk?
Vote nominated?
Yes, sir.
Is this, do we have to pay to join this Chamber of Commerce?
We already have done that.
I don't know how much we have paid you.
Krista, do you
I believe
recall?
it's 3,500.
$3,500.
Now, I could be wrong, John, but it's close to that.
Well, up to date, we don't seem to have enough good out of that $3,500. Don't even think, I don't know about that in a year, but I don't know that county ain't getting enough good out of it. I don't seem to be.
Well, we have discussed this, I think, in financial management. I think it's been bantered around in budget about having representation. Obviously, if it is not the wish of the commission, that can be, to remain a member, that can be discussed and decided on in this year's budget.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir, thank you. So the motion on the floor is to cease nominations. Madam Clerk? Okay with that? All ayes, one no. Okay, I think the best way to handle this is, Madam Clerk, you'll call the roll, and as your name is called.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
is there any room for the nominees to speak?
If you would like so, if you'd like to do so, please come forward.
Certainly would. For a number of years now, I have established contacts all across the United States. If you're looking for tourism, if you're looking for people to come into this area, once we get a hotel, I think I can help. For example, Charles Calkins at Spokane, Washington, would bring a group in here most any time, but we've got to have a place for them to stay. I don't think it would be appropriate to have them stay in Johnson City, but be that as it may, it would work. Wendell Frazier, Hattiesburg, Mississippi, could bring a group in. He brings 2 groups by us on Interstate 81 twice a year. The reason I know these things is that 4 years ago, I fiddled with the idea of starting a tourism or tour bus situation. I know who these people are, Ron Scalf in Savannah, Georgia. Some of you know Ron. I've talked to him over the phone recently. I wouldn't have to have a learning curve because I've been through the idea of how to bring people in here. And trust me, I do know folks in the United States. If you want to talk about foreign countries, I can handle that. So can Al Meehan, for example. There's not the only one in here that, you know, I know a little something, and because I have seen a few things, like the commercial on TV. Yeah. Only one guy's seen it, so apparently. Anyway, that's all I've got to say. I could hit the ground running. I beg your pardon, at my age, I could hit the ground walking fast. So I would relish the opportunity to help my home community a little bit more. I think I've done a few things so far. I'd like to do some more before I need that one last pair of shoes. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Garland?
Thank you, Mr. Lyons, for the recommendation or nomination. And you beat me to the punch because I was going to throw your name out there right after that. But I think it's a very important position, and we do need some good representation on that board. Charles, I know, would be a good one myself. You know, I would be up for that and be willing to serve. I think it's really a time that we need to kind of bind and get some county representation there and really make that connection with the city of Elizabeth. And I've had some sit down at a couple of their chamber meetings, and you know, it hasn't been easy at the ones I've been at, But I do think we need to make that connection and really try to get involved and to help those guys out and have them help us as well. I really, that's the thing, we need to be working together. And I think Charles would be great. I'd be happy to serve as well. But up to you guys. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I have a question, and I'm not mixing the motion and vote to read one out. Is there any way we could vote them on?
I just think they have requested for one. I think that's what they do.
Well, we can still put two if they don't like them.
We can put two and let Ross do the talking.
Yeah.
Well, we can appoint, I'll ask Director Stevens if we can do that at a later date. And if so, we can add to the list. But I think in our discussion, my discussion with her, she said one. So I think we should go with that. I think the clerk is ready to call the roll. Yes, sir.
And I've been that for 30 days. Do you find out then? Can I make an amendment to that motion?
That would be up to the primary and the secondary. Unless if you all would accept that as a friendly.
I just, discussion on that, I don't think they'd be up for it. I really don't. Having two more, I don't think it's easy.
Commissioner Ward?
Put it off for 2 months delay. They've been with
Just
it.
to get a decision?
Yeah.
They get one first.
I talked to Tanya, Stevens, myself, and she said they have to agree on whoever we put on for that seat. It is one seat.
So if that is an amendment, it would certainly have to be a second because I sense it's not a friendly one.
Are you saying that they would have to approve a representative that we?
According to their bylaws, yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Mr. Is this motion even in order to, we've done had nominations for 2 people. And they've spoke. Do we not need to address that before adding anything else into the motion?
Yes, I think you do. I think we've got a motion on the floor. There's been discussion. Unless there's a friendly amendment that's accepted, which it doesn't appear there is, this motion should be voted on and then you can make a decision.
I made a friendly amendment to it, Councilor, but it wasn't.
It wasn't agreed upon. I mean, you have to get second to your amendment and we vote on that.
Did you vote on it? Did you agree to it?
Commissioner Meehan?
Is the amendment really in order?
Yeah, these 2 people never even had a motion. The motion was made by whoever nominated this.
Well, I think Commissioner Trivett was opening it up as a friendly amendment, but I sense from the primary and secondary that this isn't a friendly amendment, so there would be, correct me wrong, Counselor, there would be, need a second.
I don't think anybody initiated, it's just an agenda item, we got to it, there was a nomination. I mean, it's not really a motion to appoint anybody, there's just been nominations.
I mean, from a legal standpoint, I mean, we're offered 1 seat. How can we unoffer that?
If 1 seat's available, certainly we should be sending 1 person, unless you want to give them a choice, and maybe they would like that if they've got a true.
What's the commission's pleasure?
Can I make a motion that we vote on the nominees? Offer the question.
Well, I thought
Make that motion if that's.
it wasn't.
I'll say.
That's really the only pending motion, I mean, we just had nominations and that's it.
Okay. The motion is by Commissioner Deeds to vote on the nominees that are before us, seconded by Commissioner Peters. So, Madam Clerk, there's a discussion. Commissioner Holt.
Can we nominate a primary and an alternate? Because I'm sure there's going to be times when the primary cannot attend. So I think it'd be, since we only have 2 nominees, the top vote will be the primary and the second will be the alternate.
Commissioner Deeds, would you accept that as a friendly amendment?
No.
So
So we have, if no further discussion, we have a motion to call the roll and vote on our representative to the chamber. So, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Peter Peters,
Well, I think we have to vote on the motion first, and then we'll come back and call the roll to elect the chamber representative. What I'm wrong, Council?
Yeah, you're right.
We are voting to vote on the two individuals who have been nominated. That is the motion, and it's been seconded. 21 ayes, 1 nay. So, Madam Clerk, if you proceed with the roll call, and folks just distinguish between the two individuals, Von Cannon or Garland, who you are voting for.
Peter Peters, Willie Campbell,
Garland.
Robert Asa,
Garland.
Nancy Brown,
Montana,
Mike Hill,
Ross Garland.
Alvin Hand,
Garland.
Bradley Johnson,
Garland,
Ronnie Crivitt,
Von Cannon,
Charles Montana,
Naturally, myself.
Elsie Tester,
Garland,
Isaiah Grindstaff,
Von Cannon.
Danny Ward,
Gordon, sorry.
Ross Garland,
No, Garland.
Timothy Ogren,
Von Cannon.
Bobby Dees,
Garland,
Randy Jenkins, John Lewis,
Von Cannon,
Ray Lyons,
Commissioner Garland,
Sandra Cutter, Scott Simmerly, Cody McQueen,
Von Cannon.
Robert Carroll,
Von Cannon,
Kelly Collins. I'm sorry.
For Commissioner Garland, 8 for Commissioner Von Cannon. Congratulations, Commissioner Garland. Thank you both for agreeing to serve.
It's a shame we couldn't make two fine gentlemen to that position, but hate to see vote for one and not the other now.
Both very good candidates. Mayor, you're up on the agenda for the mayor's report.
That map first. This will be a very brief report, just a couple items that require any action on your part this evening. On the table in front of you, you have a piece of correspondence that we received from Brian Dickerson, manager of excess land for TDOT, part of the right-of-way division. If you recall, a couple of months ago, you passed a resolution sending it to the General Assembly, asking for assistance and gifting a tract of land to Carter County to be used for multi-sport park. I had many conversations with TDOT, our state representatives, and both senators and representatives. As a result of that, we made an application for a lease initially, a 15-year lease. Keep in mind the sports park is going to take quite a bit to develop. There's a lot of unknowns. It could take hundreds of thousands, maybe $1 million+ to develop over time. And TDOT's recommendation was to initially start with the lease. This letter basically is a response to that application that I made to the state, advising that they had approved the lease, or at least
the initiation of a lease, but is contingent on a couple of items. There's another piece of correspondence that I didn't provide you from Mr. Tim Webster, also with TDOT. And in that, it outlines to us more specifics, which indicates that Carter County, before we can initiate the lease being drafted, there are a couple of contingencies. One of them is we have to provide the survey for the property. And as you'll see up here, this is the map that Mr. Tim Webster provided. All of those, the area inside the red hatched section of the map is the area that will have to be surveyed. Now, I have reached out to surveyors. I'm waiting on estimates now as to the cost to do that survey. Also, there's another condition that if we enter into this lease, not only do we provide the cost of the survey, we'll have to provide the cost for the installation of a fence on this boundary line here of on West Elk, that one line there. So I'll be securing some estimates for that so that you'll have a better idea as to the true cost just to enter into the negotiations for the lease. I'll bring that information back to the Buildings and Grounds Committee just as quick as I get it. They had requested that we have this done by January 31, but I just don't know that we'll be able to get it done that quick. You know, I'll expedite it, we'll do everything we can. Once we bring that back and have the cost, then it'll be up to Buildings and Grounds to whether or not they advance it to budget, and then budget whether or not they advance it to full commission. But you can't make that decision until you have that information in your hand. So I'll have the cost of the survey, and I'll have the cost of the fence installation, and we'll bring that back to you. It's a important part of this process. And the thing about it is, going into a lease, of course, it would have to be reviewed by the county attorney and everyone, and he'd have to make his comments and suggestions, recommendations as we negotiate in terms of that lease. If we are engaging in that for a 15-year period, that gives us an opportunity to really evaluate the property and put together a long-range plan. If we decide, say after a year, that we've got the funds available and we've got the resources and we want to go ahead and take this on, then we can go back to TDOT and ask them for a deeded transfer of the property. So it protects the county really on the front end. If you enter into a lease, you're not obligated going forward on that. But there is going to be an expenditure. They're not going to just turn it over to you for nothing. You know, there's an investment that you have to make. And I'll outline that to you just as quick as I possibly can. So we'll try to bring it to you in January. If not, we'll have you all the details in the February meeting. There's one other item. This is just an item of concern. We always talk about jobs. We need jobs. We need some sort of manufacturing job. We need facilities, manufacturing facilities. We're very limited. We know that. We participated in the PET program, that property evaluation program, a year and a half ago. We identified 10 different sites in Carter County. We had representatives from the state of Tennessee that came in here that helped us, and an independent consulting firm, Austin Consulting, that went through those properties with us. At the end of the day, those 10 properties were narrowed down to 5, and then ultimately, John Hartman and myself, we were all on those properties. We walked them, we looked at them, and none of those were certifiable sites, none of them. At the end of the day, they told us that our future is with tourism, and that's true, but we've got to be thinking of more than just tourism. And one of our neighboring counties has done an excellent job, over the years. And you know, these things don't happen overnight. It takes an investment on the part of this commission to help create those opportunities. Our neighbors in Washington County in 1998 bought a 120-acre parcel of land down in the Telford area. Today, on that 120-acre tract of land, there's 3 employers with 400 good paying jobs. On average, it's about $30,000 to $40,000 a year. Since then, in 2011, they bought another 67 acres. They just took out an option on an additional 37 acres. That commission made a commitment of $1.5 million to develop this property and get it ready. Because you could point to a cow pasture and nobody wants a cow pasture. I mean, based on my experience in economic community development, nobody wants a cow pasture. Nobody wants a field that's undeveloped. You have to have a site that's been prepped, it's got to be excavated, it's got to be with infrastructure in place, the electric power, the water, the gas, the connectivity. It's all got to be there. And I'm happy to say that Washington County has done such an excellent job with their grant writing that this 1.8 million commitment on the part of Washington County has now been whittled down. And that was coming directly from general fund to help build these other areas in this acreage out. That's been whittled down to about only $750,000. And we can sit here all day long and we can talk about jobs, but until this commission, until this government body gets serious about it, until you make that investment in this community to develop those type properties, you're not going to get any jobs ever, okay, when it comes to that. You may get a small operation here or there, and we've got a few sites that have potential, but we know that those sites that we've looked at have problems too. So today, businesses come in, they want to have that site prepped and ready to build to fit their needs. And it's going to take a serious investment. So what I would ask, and I'd like to go ahead and just show you a flyover of Washington County site right now. And I'm encouraged because, you know, for many years I worked in Washington County. I had to. And there's a lot of people here in Carter County today who will make that drive down there to get that job. And these people have had people come in from Korea just recently. They flew over. They're looking at this site. So they're getting to the point now that it will be ready to go. So we'll play this for you and just give you a better idea. Koyo plants is in the background. There's a couple of those plants that are there now that you'll see. What you're seeing there's going to be 3 pads that would be ready for development. One of them would accommodate about a 500,000 square foot facility. The other one will accommodate a little over 300,000 square foot. And then there's a 150 plus site that's being developed now. The roads, the infrastructure, a good portion of that's being done with grants. They got a Washington County ECD grant, they got an investment prep grant, they got a site development grant, and that cut that investment down considerably.
Just so you know though, they can't get any grants without the government owning it first. So that's the kicker. You gotta buy it first before you get the grants.
Just notice straight ahead above this site here, out in the far beyond that little row of trees, that's the adjoining property that they just bought the option on. That's an additional 37 acres. So all in all, they'll have well over 200 acres only 3 employers there now, but there's potential for many, many more. Folks, we've got to do that, and as mayor of this county, I would ask that as you go into the budget process this year, that you set aside a minimum of $150,000 to $200,000 in reserves to go into an account so that once we identify a piece of property here in Carter County, we can start investing in that piece, we can own that piece, and then we can start the grant processes out of the Mayor's Office of Economic Community Development, moving this thing forward. We've got an excellent track record. 2017 has been extremely good to that office. We've made 6 applications for grants, all of them are competitive. They're small grants, they're not like these, but we have to have the property before we can go for those larger grants to develop the property. We've got over $200,000 new money that's come into this county that didn't come from the general fund. And we've got almost $1 million in the pipeline. Just 3 weeks ago, we submitted 4 other grants, $85,000 each, from a tourism standpoint to help market here. We are gaining traction. So I'm encouraged, I'm extremely positive in mindset, and we are at the onset of something great happening in Carter County, but it's going to take your support and your investment to make this happen. The mayor can't do it. You're the ones that are in charge of the funds. You're the ones that set the budget. You're the ones that put the priorities in place. And we've accomplished a lot in the last 3 years. We've done a number of projects, and I think this should be high on your priority list when it comes budget time. We have to invest in Carter County. We've got to do everything that we can from an economic and community development standpoint to acquire those pieces of property. And we are currently looking to identify, working with TVA. They're doing a 5,000-foot overlook. They're coming in, looking at our landscape and trying to help us identify properties that would have potential. So once we find those, we'll be coming to you, asking for your help and support in order to develop them. And as far as tourism, we're working at it at an extremely fast clip. And I'm encouraged. We're going to see a lot of good things happening in 2018. Along those lines, one of the things we'll be meeting this week with our hotel industrial development and the chain. I'm encouraged. Site plans are well underway. Pro formas being completed. So we are closer than we've ever been before to a new hotel in Carter County. It takes all of these things. It takes tourism, it takes tax revenue, it takes us developing this property. So again, please put this in your banks. Let's think about it, and as you're developing your budget this year, make arrangements so that there can be some money freed up for investment here in Carter County. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Without objection, let's take a 15-minute break. We'll be back here at 7:15.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
It's come to my attention that there may be some confusion about the properties that you've got under consideration tonight. The one that I talked to you about is the property that's on Happy Valley Road and 321 near Happy Valley High School. That 28 acres is in response to the resolution that you submitted a couple of months ago to the General Assembly. Has nothing to do with the property that you're going to consider tonight as far as purchase off of Gap Creek Road, the 9.23 acres, whatever it is, and fronts also over on Genevieve. So totally two different properties, so don't be confused, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank the committee chairs this evening for, if you held your meetings and you did the county business, I think that keeps us on track. But those of you who did not, because you didn't have that much of an agenda item, I thank you for doing that, because it could certainly save us a few dollars in the process. So thank you for your due diligence. We normally follow in alphabetical order for committees. We're going to change that up a little bit tonight because there are some issues that we discussed before we get to the budget. So Commissioner Ward's going to talk about financial management and some issues that we need to consider coming out of that committee.
We did have our finance management meeting this month, and we had 3 things on the agenda. And one of them I'm going to need a motion for. It's the lease agreement for the SUVs for the Sheriff's Department, and you should have in your packet those lease agreements. Hopefully everybody's had time to look over those. This is for 3 vehicles, not 1. And Finance Management Committee unanimously approved it, so I'd like to make the motion that we accept the leases from Chance, Scott, Kia, and Kingsport for 3 SUVs for the Sheriff's Department.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Commissioner Ward to accept the lease agreement, a second by Commissioner Tribbett. Is there discussion, questions? Mr. Quinn.
I wasn't able to attend that meeting, so my first question is, what are these vehicles for? I know for the Sheriff's Department, but for what purpose are they for? And start with that, I guess.
I'm going to give Tom Smith the floor, and he can explain this to us.
What we're doing is leasing these vehicles for our drug unit. Working in the drugs, dealing with the clientele we deal with, we try to rotate vehicles so we can keep their identities unknown, and that is the reasoning for purchasing the 3 SUVs.
Is there a reason we went with a foreign automaker versus domestic?
That's just what was in the bid. We put it out as a mid-size SUV, and Chance Scott was the low bid on it, and that's what we went with.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Commissioner Lewis?
I've got one, as many vehicles that we constantly have. City, county, county special, and we have to go ahead and lease a vehicle for drug use. That makes sense to me. Why don't you some of them confiscated vehicles do that with?
We have used confiscated vehicles in the past if they met certain criteria, but you also have to think that those vehicles generally come from the drug dealers we're dealing with out here in the public. So the vehicles are already known by the public. So that's the reason we're wanting to go with a new vehicle, a vehicle that has never been seen in the public before.
Well, you can go to Washington County, and they've got all kinds of confiscated vehicles.
I don't think they're willing to let us use it.
And, get them one of them, if you cheap one, it wouldn't be buy one, I mean,
That's something that we've never questioned or asked. I probably have to get an opinion from them.
looking up the waste of money.
Thank you. Are there items of concern or discussion?
Discussion, we had, this was at the budget meeting, we talked about what, and I think this, where this comes from, where it comes from,
It's on our item.
Yeah, I mean, it's no new money, is it? It just comes out of their line.
There's no new money involved, it actually comes out of the drug fund, or 122 fund. And we're just gonna shift that money around, plus the vehicles we're currently using, we're gonna sell those to replace as much money as we can, put it back in that drug fund.
It's an item we did approve, but we didn't do it from.
Well, now,
Any other questions?
Here's another question. If the vehicle you're going to sell, and you use it now, are they leased? Are they county owned?
No, they're not.
They're county owned?
Yes.
How come you didn't lease them when you have them?
The vast majority of the vehicles that we use right now were seizures that we done back years ago. And there's one in particular that everybody in Carter County, so we had to quit using it. It's parked over there in the parking lot right now. I mean, there's nothing we can use it for.
Any other questions? This motion is to approve the lease agreement. What you're voting on.
I think we're all set up.
Quick question.
No, I just want to second it if we didn't have that.
Oh, yeah. We have a primary and a second. So, and it up, Samson. I want to see it.
Let's take Bobby out of it.
Okay, yeah, she's gone. Sorry. Okay, Madam Clerk. 19 ayes, 2 nays. Motion passes.
Our next finance management meeting will be January the 3rd at 8:30. There'll be a couple items on the agenda. Balanced budget is on our agenda. Brad, and we'll be working on that, get some literature out to see if we can pass a resolution on balanced budget for next year. Update on finance management policies will also be covered during that next meeting. While I'm up there, I'm going to do education, just a couple of notes. We didn't have a meeting, but our next meeting will be January the 2nd at 6 p.m. here at the courthouse. That's going to be on a Tuesday instead of a Monday. Also, landfill will be in that meeting also. We are, and the school system will have a workshop on the 14th. That's a Thursday. And their next meeting is on the 19th at 6 p.m. at Cleveland High School, or Cleveland Elementary.
Thank you, Commissioner Ward. Commissioner Clark, you want to do budget? Please.
You should have your budget amendments in your packet. First one is the General Fund 101, Amendment number 5, for a total of $25,750.73. There are 9 items. There's nothing coming from the fund balance. Put that form motion to approve.
Second for Commissioner Collins. Any questions, discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll. All ayes,
Next item is General Fund 101, Amendment number 6, for a total of $73,574 for 4 items, and $50,714 of that will be coming from fund balance. I'll put that in form of motion.
Second by Commissioner Brown. Any questions, discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk?
Got a question? Yeah, this is the park on the Gap Creek that we're talking about
Yes.
here. There's been some discussion, I know some people have brought that up, and I don't think they felt too comfortable with making that decision so far. I'm not going to speak for anybody else, I know that. Maybe some questions on that. I don't know if Mr. Schubert could help us out a little bit. It looks, I mean, it's a great property, 9-10 acres of variable flat land once you get across the creek there.
Oh, actually, Mr. Vaughn, that is not that one.
No?
No, I'm sorry, that's not that one. That one will be down here with the sports and recreation.
Well, it is taking the money from our fund balance to give to them.
Oh, okay, that one is,
Yeah,
okay,
I
I
know.
apologize. I'm sorry, you're right.
I need to change my vote.
Okay, hang on just a minute.
I'm
Commissioner
sorry for
Kramer?
the confusion.
Yeah, it's okay.
Are we voting on this land up there now?
Yes.
That's the
That's
amendment.
what the motion is.
is for this.
We've not discussed it or anything yet, have we?
No.
I voted for it in the budget meeting. Since then, I've been back up there and looked at this, and I've got some reservations about getting in there, getting a bridge built, how we're gonna get in there and stuff. So, I wish that we could wait about another month on this before we voted on this.
Commissioner
Have
Brownstein?
time to look at this.
Commissioner Brownstein?
I think that some individuals have questions on it, and I know we're kind of in the middle of the vote, can't really answer questions while you're in the middle of the vote. I think that it would be best to cancel this vote, have our due diligence on these questions, and then take another vote on the top. Since there are so many questions that are in discussion that are trying to be going on.
I'd like to know if anybody's been down there to look at it. I have.
If you go back to your, if you go back to the amendments on the budget, that's number one, it's 44,000 is what we were, number one on item number one, on budget 101, amendment number 6, and it is for 44,000 is to purchase that property.
Commissioner Johnson? No. Commissioner
Mr. Chairman, we're out in the middle of a vote. We can clear the vote because we've got a large amount of discussion. So where we get that answer before we go to the
There's a vote now, let's start over, do some discussion, then we vote on it.
I thought we moved really quick. I didn't know if anybody had a chance to discuss.
Yeah, it's unsure does exactly what that was for once the vote had started. And my question came to us.
I apologize because I, like I said, you pointed out to follow in your budget, and that's where it is.
Commissioner Carroll?
I would like to see this voted on totally separate. Now, I don't think these should be bundled up here in one bundle and vote all.
That's up to the commission. If you want to take them separately, we can vote on them separately.
I would like to take that property. Purchase out of that.
Yeah, I'm not taking a separate vote on it.
Commissioner Bonnefield?
We in the discussion phase of the property at
Well, we were in the voting stage of Gap Creek Road to approve this amendment, budget amendment number 6, but there is concern from the body that folks would like to discuss that property purchase. So I think it has been suggested from commission that we X out this vote and discuss meaningfully the discussion on the property. Commissioner Peterson?
I'd like to ask the attorney, do we have to vote whether to clear this or not?
No, I mean, I literally think that we asked for discussion, and it was started really quickly before anybody had a chance to speak up. I mean, we're truly in discussion on the motion anyway, but I think some people misunderstood what they were voting for before we had discussion. So in my opinion, I think we should clear the vote and fully discuss it before we vote.
Clear the vote. That's the wish of the commission. And let's have some meaningful discussion on the property and get your questions answered.
It's the second page of your minutes for the budget committee, and there are 4 items. This item is number 1. If you want to separate them, that's up to you if you want to make a vote.
I would make that motion to separate the items and take them individually.
Second. There is a motion to separate. No. The motion is from Commissioner Hill, seconded by Commissioner Ward, to take each item separately. Commissioner Von Cannon, did you understand?
You didn't hear it.
That's not even in my packet. No one can understand. It should be automatic.
Okay, Fund Budget 101, Budget Amendment number 6, it's page 2 of your packet, and we want to do item number 1, that is to...
Madam Chair, I think we have a motion on the floor vote on first to take each item individually. That has been, motion made and seconded. Commissioner Hill made the motion, Commissioner Ward seconded to take each item separately. So we need to have a vote on that. If there's no further discussion on that particular motion, please vote on the motion to take each item separately, yea or nay. Okay, I think we're all up. 19 ayes, 2 nays. Proceed.
Okay. Second page of your minutes from the budget meeting, item number 1, is unassigned fund balance of $44,000 to transfer to the other fund balance, $44,000. That is from the general fund to the Park and Rec. So it has to be transferred to Park and Rec before we can purchase the land. They are the ones going to be purchasing the land. And that is a form of
I have a
motion.
motion, second by Commissioner Garland. Now discussion. Commissioner Monken and then Commissioner Jenkins. Yes, sir.
First of all, we've not been given much time to study this issue. Saturday during the snowstorm, here's what I found. Number 1, access to the property, which is landlocked, would have to come on the old Kemper Road, but you'd have to get a state DOT clearance to get to that property. Secondly, there's a bridge that would have to be built. Mr. Caldwell, a bridge roughly 60 feet long with no approaches would cost how much?
About $280,000 to $300,000.
Okay, that's something to keep in mind. A bridge is inspected every so often and has to be upgraded every what?
It's inspected every 2 years.
Every 2 years.
To repair what's on the list.
Thirdly, looking at the map here, you're talking about 1,100 feet of bluff, 60 to 80 feet down below the property that could be used for ball fields. Now, how do you get to that area that's level at the top? You build a road at an angle. 1,100 feet plus, 1,100 feet plus, and these numbers come from the tax assessor's office based on the measurement. Once you get to the top, then you've got some acreage there that is usable. They say 2 ball fields plus parking. What you don't have at the top, the map says 9.33 acres. By the time you take out the bluff all the way through, it doesn't only go to 1,100 feet, but 1,100 feet is where you have to build a road in order to access the top, the level part. The next situation is parking. The rule of thumb is, if you had 2 ball fields and you're able to get 30 cars, 90 people per ball field, you're talking about 200 square feet per parking space. Folks, it ain't going to happen because the math doesn't add up. You'd have to have 3 or 4 people, 3 or 4 cars for each ball field. So I'm not here to convince you one way or the other because, well, I already know that's impossible. But what I do know is the numbers better be looked at. Because you're going to buy, and where's the city? Where are they tonight? They're part of this. Could it be that they know something, that they've studied a little better than we have? My suggestion is, again, delay it, look at it 30 days as I have, and you come to your conclusion. It's a bad investment. As a business person, I would not buy it for that price. You're talking about $16,000 an acre, not any other number. By the time you take out what's not usable, that bluff times the whole length of the piece of property, you've got something that is not usable. Now, I see Mr. Peters shaking his head. The last time he did that, he called me a complete idiot, and that's your privilege, sir.
This has gone before Parks and Rec, and then came to budget, so if I may, I'd like to ask Mr. Schuler to come and answer some questions that he brought up.
Is that okay with you, Commissioner?
That's fine. I was actually going to give some of my time to Mr. Shields.
Thank you, Director.
Yes, sir.
Well, first thing, I've never seen a stream run across the bluff. I apologize if I'm wrong on that, but it doesn't happen that way. It just doesn't happen. What I have here is an actual physical survey of the property. If I could, Josh, we can take back their land.
That's exactly what he said.
All right.
They're right there.
Oh, thank you. Anyways, what Mr. Brown Cannon was speaking of, and I don't understand the bluff. This area is located in the floodplain of Gap Creek Road. This area here is the old Monty Clark Mobile Home Park. And you are familiar with that piece of property. Lays about as flat to be in that area. As far as the bridge, it will be a pedestrian maintenance bridge only. It's not going to be for vehicular traffic. You have enough room in this area along here to park a minimum of 60 vehicles without upgrading into another area here. These are the two. If you look at the tax map, it's totally wrong, unfortunately. We went back and pulled all the DOT information, the mappings that was done for DOT, and the little purchases they did from the property, which is this section here was purchased off, and then this downgrade, this big high, steep area off the old Gap Creek Road. What you end up with is 9.299 acres, 9.3 acres. Usable piece of property, can be in place with 2 softball fields. We're not talking baseball fields, we're talking softball fields. Also, a nice area to put in a dog park, and also some walking areas, pavilions, picnic tables, such as that nature. The key to this piece of property is also right here, located where my pen is the Tweetsie Trail. Okay, so you have the Tweetsie Trail access from that. Like Mr. Mattioli and Mr. Melton discussed, was the softball fields and things. We're losing all this stuff that's been gone over the years. They just disappeared. You know, you don't have a place really to take your kids and sit down and have a McDonald's burger beside a creek or a playground or something of that nature. And that's what we want to incorporate in that. Basically, it's going to be a mini Roan Mountain Park. And I think Roan Mountain Community Park is probably one of the best things that's happened to this county in a long time. Yes, sir, Mr. Tripp.
Is any of that in the flood zone?
Every bit of it, just like the other.
Is in the flood zone?
Let me rephrase it. Majority of it, yes, sir. Yes, sir, Mr. Carter.
I'm in support of this, Chris. I know the old Gap Creek Road, that's where you could have the 60 cars parking. Right?
It's along the old Gap Creek Road, and the access that Mr. Von Cannon says it's not there is actually physically paved all the way to the low water crossing.
To the creek.
And that's why we're going to look at putting in a pedestrian maintenance only bridge.
Yeah.
That means you park on the west side of the stream and you walk over to the park.
Yeah.
And if you have maintenance to be done, then the maintenance equipment can go across. Or construction equipment can still be utilized under the low water bridge. Yes, sir, Mr. Hill.
How many cars can you park in there, Chris?
If we did a quick calculation, without doing anything to it, we're looking at 40 vehicles right off the top. That's without any grade. Sir.
And of course, you'd have to have a way to get over the creek unless you want to wade through there. But I think.
There's actually, TDOT actually put a TDEC approved low water crossing in for the butt, to that butt property. So it is utilized as a low water crossing, and we utilize that during construction.
Yeah, that's good. And I think if we move forward with this, if it is passed through the ball fields, I guess preliminary stages or whatever, I think we could, you know, work on the parking, whatever the infrastructure for that, and also maybe move as quickly as we could on maybe the dog park, or making it as accessible as quick as we can.
And one key point, and not to override you on that, but one key point is that TDOT did turn the Old Gap Creek Road back over to Carter County, so that right of way that was existing there is our county right of way. Yes, sir, Mr. Bonner.
Mr. Shooter.
Yes, sir.
To avoid building a $250,000 bridge plus, and to avoid cutting a road that's impossible to do a 2-lane, in my opinion, is there any other way to get into the property?
As I was discussing and telling them, there is a way to get into the property. It comes off the Old Gap Creek Road. That is, since I already had them shoot the grade for me, when they were doing that, they did that during the survey of the
You
property.
still have to have a bridge.
But what I was discussing and telling the rest of the commission, I apologize, I wasn't loud enough for you, is it will be a pedestrian maintenance bridge only. It will not be a traffic bridge for vehicles.
Then why talk about parking? That was brought up.
Parking is brought on the west side, on your side of the creek. That we will not be driving across the park in the ball field area.
There's another way. Go through Gina Bell.
That's a wonderful way.
And buy the $75,000 piece of property, which is better than building a $250,000 bridge, which you now say we don't need. I can't see that amount of land on that side for parking.
Well, I look at that $75,000 piece of property, it's as steep as a mule's face. You got that old, you know what that means. And that's this area right here that Mr. Boncan is discussing. This is Genevieve Drive, this is that $75,000 piece of property. Which, if you brought it down that way, is going to destroy what you're going to, the whole intent of it is for recreation. You know, if we lost that, we'd still use the pedestrian bridge in and maybe some parking up there. But I don't ever foresee us being able to buy that.
So tell me about the ball fields. You're going to park on the west side of the creek. You're going to cross the creek on a footbridge.
But then
You're going to walk up the 80-foot bluff.
I don't know what 80-foot bluff is. Mr. Boncan, I don't understand the 80-foot bluff. I don't understand what you're getting at.
All you've got to do is go there and look down from Genevieve and
Well,
you get a 70 to 80-foot elevation change.
This property does not attach to Genevieve.
I know it's not, but it's over, it's to the west of Genevieve. I know where it is because
It's the whole bottom thing.
that whole bank there of trees and it's 60 to 80 foot.
And that's that $75,000 piece of property we're not talking about.
I'm talking about the bluff that's not usable. It goes the complete length of this piece.
We're not buying that piece, Mr. Boncan. Seriously, we're not buying that piece. This is what we're buying. And this is what you see here. Here's the bluff. That highlighted area is your topographical map over it. As you can see, this is the stream that comes through here. This is your topographical map. Laid over the area. It is this piece of property. That's Old Pioneer subdivision, which is what we're talking about. That it's box fix, means nothing.
Tomorrow at 1 o'clock, I entertain any commissioner that wants to go with me. Look at this piece of property and see what we're talking about.
But you do not.
We've got a problem with this piece of property and.
This property does not attach to Genevieve, ladies and gentlemen.
we could bring up Google Maps on the screen and show Mr. Bob Cannon the exact piece of property that we're talking about, if you guys want to. Just say about the properties right at Mary Patton and the old Gap Creek. They're not way back here. I think you're talking about way back here on Gap Creek.
Is that a wish that may not, would like to see on Google Maps?
Ms. Ross.
I've got it. Charlie, I can show you right here.
Ms. Ross, can you give us a hand?
Please.
I brought a lot of information to the budget committee, Charlie. But, it also went to, buildings and grounds.
Thank you.
This is Mary Pat, this is Old Gap Creek. This is the property, Jim Best right up here, right? Here's your No, it's not that bad. It's not good. It averages 13%, well, our county road, will allow us to build 13%, that's an increase. It's not bad, Charles. I give you more. I apologize, I brought all the packets that were originally sent to the subcommittees. I didn't think we'd need those, but, once again, I apologize for that. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
It's okay. It's an important decision yours here.
Good Northwest.
Meehan.
This one's a close address.
Good. Cat Creek Road, we've been to see that. She's coming. Make it right convenient. Okay, head west. Keep going west. West. Got a long way to go. You got 3 miles to go. Keep going. Keep on trucking. Getting closer. 1 mile. Whoa, slow down now, a little bit more. Whoa, right there. See that area is kind of, put the pointer on it right there. See that area is kind of a darkish green brown that the hand was on there just a second ago? That is the piece of property we got. Gina Beth Drive is into the northwest, Mr.
I'm not, let's forget about that. You see where it says Gap Creek, Gap Creek?
Yep.
That's your bluff.
It's really not a bluff, man. It's coming off the highway. If you look to the southeast, between the 2 Gap Creeks, that's your entrance that T-Dot built for this piece of property. That goes through the low water crossing. Goes right through there. Yep. It's not going to give you a street view. Try right there. You wheel around the same way. Yeah.
Does that actually go on?
There it comes. Here's your street view. We'll try to go. There it is. That's your trees. That is now paved in that area.
Shows you how far behind we were.
Yeah, well, it's been 2 years since they drove it, so.
Can you see the old Gap Creek Road from there? Can you go back and kind of show where the parking would be?
Yeah, as soon as it comes back in there.
Oh, yeah, that, I got you.
Pull the map north a little bit. Lower, right there. That's not giving you a good show because the new Gap Creek Road is right there. Oh, it's right there. That's the old Gap Creek that you see that's coming down this way. This is the on-ramp back on from Gap Creek to Mary Patton. This whole area to the left, to the west, moving southwest, is not there anymore. That is all been dedicated back over to property, and that's all that flat area on the west side of the street for the parking.
Mr. Von Cannon had bluff
goes up from the trailer park to the left of this property. And the ball field wouldn't be way up. The ball field is down there where we see the practically level ground. It is a steep bluff, but that has nothing to do with the access at this point.
And it's not even part of our property we're considering. Yes, sir.
I was gonna ask, maybe more of a question for them, because I'm not sure of the map here. Are those, the sports requirement size fields for the softball?
For softball, yes. We can get 2 in there, and it gives us another areas to put, playground equipment, things of that nature, and also the dog park, which everybody's screamed about. I mean, this is something that the property came up. Parks and Rec's been on it for about 2.5, 3 months. Building and Grounds had it 2 months and some odd days ago. It was brought before the budget committee and then revamped because Park and Rec went ahead and spent the money to go ahead and have it appraised. It's appraised for more than what we'll be paying for it. You know, we'll make it work.
Well, one thing I was going to say is, I was in the hotel industry, had the privilege of working for a local hotel back at the time when Smoky Mountain Sports Complex had the softball fields. On any given weekend, we brought in $30,000 to $40,000 for the rooms. We had teams, traveling teams, West Virginia Whirlies, Gainesville Hurricanes, they were coming, that's as far north and south as I know they were coming. The economic impact of having these teams come in from all across the country to continue these tournaments, it means a lot to these kids, first of all. And secondly, that's what they spend at a hotel. I'm sure they stopped at all their places to eat. I'm sure they stopped and got our gas and pumped. Probably, I would just have to imagine at the time that facility was there, billions of dollars into our economy. And the idea that we have an opportunity to get something back, if it's feasible, and you all put the work in for the grades, the economic impact in a place where we don't have a lot of big industries is just...
Another portion of the tourism industry that we're looking at to cultivate within Carter County.
And thank you and thank the guys and girls around.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir, Mr. Gold.
You don't really find 9 acres of good land like this inside city limits, right?
No, sir, no, not.
The appraisal report, convenience to employment, good. Convenience to schools, good. Shopping, good. Appeal to market, good. Utilities, adequate utilities, good. So I mean, it's all there. I think it's got a lot of potential. I think we move forward on it.
If you've noticed in the last few weeks, there's been an article in Johnson City Press about Washington County being so successful with Wing Deer Park that they built, that they're spending $2 or $3 million to build another in the Dutch Creek area. So, you know, I go to all these tournaments and I'm telling you, it's amazing.
Mr. Mann?
Mr. Chairman, I think we've had our bluff called. I think we need to go ahead with the
I'll make the motion from the budget committee that we transfer the $44,000 to Parks and Rec.
We've already got the motion on the floor. And I think we'll finish with discussion. Is there any other thoughts?
I just want to echo, I know we've had a lot of discussion. I mean, commission, this is their chance to be proactive. I said that a few months ago, and I said it again. We didn't come in here half-cocked. Parks and Rec did not come in here half-cocked. We've been to budget, we've been to building grants, Parks and Rec, several of us have been out there to the property several times. The Planning Commission has looked at it several times. We realize that it is a large amount of money to build it later on, or to produce fields on it. That's grant money. We realize that. We know that we don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars in the coffers to build this. It's grant money, but without the property in hand, we can't do nothing. The grant is useless because we don't own the property. So this is our first step. And as a Parks and Rec member and a representative of them and a commissioner, a proactive commissioner, I fully support this.
Based on motion. Thank you. So the motion that you're voting on is transfer from the general fund balance to the Parks and Recreation for purchase of the property in the amount of $44,000. Is everybody clear on the motion? Madam Clerk? 15 ayes, 2 nays, motion passes.
Thank you. The next item, number 2, is the $8,000 for the architect's fee for the single port of entry for this courthouse. This is the item that came up at the last commission meeting. And I'll put that for motion that we transfer that from the litigation fund to for the architect.
Second by Commissioner Lyons. Is there questions? Commissioner Ward.
The only thing I'd like to say is we knew this project was coming, and we didn't put it in the budget. You know, I've recommended money from litigation, which is fine, but we need to start looking when we know a project that's going to happen, and we've known about this for a year. We need to make sure that we put it in the budget so we can be better stewards of our money. I mean, just pulling money out of the air, you got to stop doing this sooner or later.
Can you agree with you more?
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, Madam Clerk? Ayes, 1 no. Motion passes.
Item number 3 is to transfer $6,714 from the fund balance to, again, it has to do with Park and Recs for covering the insurance for flood damage. I'll put that in form of motion.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lee. So there are questions, discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call roll. All ayes, thank you.
And the 4th item has to do with transferring reserves from the Animal Shelter Snoopy Fund of $14,860 for the architectural design for the dog run. I'll put that in form of motion.
Is there a second? Commissioner Holden. Discussion? See none, Madam Clerk? Ayes, 2 nays. Motion passes.
Over on the next page, you have one item for the Drug Fund 122. It's donations of $367.60. That is for food and supplies for the animal shelter, donations to the canine expense. Put that in form of motion.
Second. Second by Commissioner Holden. Any discussion or questions? Madam Clerk? All ayes, thank you.
Turning the page, again, Drug Fund 122. This has to do with the vehicles that financial management just asked that we approve the leasing of the vehicles, and this would be for the $24,720 for the leasing of 3 vehicles. And I'll put that in form of motion.
Second by Commissioner Collins. Any questions? Commissioner Holden?
Just for clarification, how long is that lease?
I think there's 2 years, okay, 2 years.
Thank you.
2 years. That's for 3 vehicles.
Commissioner Bonner, did you have a question?
With as many vehicles that are being confiscated, the one the sheriff drives, for example, being one, why are we doing this? Just to spend money?
That's recommended.
Yes, sir.
The drug guys have to have dependable vehicles. These things that we see from these drug dealers and meth heads, they're not dependable vehicles, and I wouldn't put nobody in one of them to ride down the road, especially involved in anything to do with law enforcement. And they don't look in unmarked police cars. These are vehicles that people won't recognize. Again, it's within our funds. I don't know if that answers your question or not. It's better than mine. Swap them out every couple of years, and hopefully nobody pick up on what the drug units drive.
And that answers
We're
your
very
question.
successful. I
Under this lease, is there mileage stipulations?
Don't think so. Yeah, you got that. Yeah, that's what we asked. We're thinking now, 2,000 a year. We're not gonna hit that.
Are there any questions? Hearing none. Commissioner Arnold?
Just one question, Sheriff, if I could. Other counties throughout the state are using the same practices.
I can't answer that. I honestly don't know.
Thank you.
If there are no further questions, Madam Clerk? Okay, 10 ayes, 3 noes, motion passes.
Next item is the next page, general purpose school fund, 141, amendment number 6 for 10,000, with one item and nothing coming from the school fund balance. Is that for a motion?
Second by Commissioner Miller. Any questions? Seeing none, Madam Clerk? All ayes, thank you.
Next item has to do with the Parks and Recs Fund 123, amendment number 1 for $56,714 with two items. $6,000 is coming from the Parks and Rec Fund, and that goes toward this purchase of this property. I'll put that forward for motion.
Second. Commissioner Garland, second. Questions? Seeing none, Madam Clerk? Ayes, 1 nay.
I'd like to remind everyone that the next budget meeting will be January the 8th. We will be starting at 5 o'clock in the courtroom, and we will be having some people go over like the budget 101. I believe Mr. Lewis will be here, and our tax assessor also, Mr. Taylor will also be here to answer questions, as well as Ms. Christie. So if you'd like to be here at 5 o'clock, we'll do budget 101. January the 8th.
At 5 o'clock, January the 8th, 5 o'clock, public, please, everybody, listen to the budget presentations. Are there any other committee chairs that I have missed that have a report? Commissioner Hill and then Commissioner Garland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I only have one item. County Attorney Horton informed me that the rhododendron lane adoption, all the signatures have been collected for the donation of the right-of-way. The Highway Committee did vote affirmatively to adopt this road pending all the punch list of criteria were met, and they have been met. So at this time, I bring a motion to go ahead and finalize the adoption of rhododendron lanes in the county road list.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Brown, to add rhododendron lane to the county road list. Any questions?
Can you just identify where that piece of property is?
Roger.
Right. It's about 400 foot long, gravel road. It's got a 30-foot driveway right now.
Off the Ross House Road?
The Parrish family came in way early in 2017 with a petition from all the residents along the roadway there. This will help the folks there out tremendously because they are advancing in years and they're unable to maintain the road themselves.
Any other questions? Everybody understands what we're voting on. We rhododendron line to a county road. Okay. See no, Madam Clerk?
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All ayes. Commissioner Garland. Motion passes.
Agriculture, just real brief report. And Mayor, we talked about it last time that they have started the remodel project at the extension office on the second floor. I know they started last week and they taking sheet rock down, actually fixed the ceiling where it was swagging a little bit. I think she did some framing on that, put new ceiling up, working on a couple of rooms. They've got Medic Electric also to put some rough in electrical, some permanent fixtures later on. Just an update on that. And also for the agriculture committee guys, we've got a February meeting scheduled, I think it's the second Tuesday. I know, Charles, you had a conflict with that maybe, is that right?
Let's check it.
Okay. Well, I was going to, right now, change it to before or after date, if that won't be a problem for you. Ms. Vicky had mentioned that the other day. Yeah, it was the 6th, I believe that was the second Tuesday, but I was wondering if we could right now change it to January 30th on the following Tuesday. After that, to accommodate Charles, I know there's a problem with this schedule, I think. With the commission meeting. Okay.
Are there others? Commission comments? Commissioner have comments? Commissioner Lewis?
As I get out and travel over this county here, talking to different people, and it seems like money is always the question. Where do tax dollars go? Why do we need more taxes? Now, I'm gonna make a motion that starting January, the finance department give the East Commissioner a financial statement, the balance, the money coming in, the money paying out, extra than what we're gonna get here, and that give us some idea where our money is going. And then if we have to, if some citizen was asked, then
John, I give you an expenditure report every month. It's as detailed as probably anybody could bear. If there's something more you want, I'd be glad to give it to you. Just let me know. But, you know, I see several of them looking at it right now. I think
we're talking about having balanced budget in the stop on the budget committee.
Right.
Those guards. And this is one process that you have to have a balanced budget. You gotta know what the money you got, you gotta know where money's going, and how much new money's coming in. And that's my motion.
I'm still not seeing what I don't provide you, but if there's something more specifically you can tell me you're wanting, I'll be glad to give it to you.
Is there a second for Commissioner Lewis's motion? Commissioner Mann? Is this a second?
I second if I can make a comment.
Yes, sir. Please.
I second it, but I object to the whole principle. I think the finance office has enough to do, and I think the information is there. If any commissioner wants to take the time to avail themselves of it. So, although I second it, I recommend we vote against it.
If I'm understanding correctly, obviously all this information is just in very, very detailed fashion. Is your computer that you have in the finance office?
Ladies, hold it. Go ahead.
Does the technology that you have in the finance office, does it allow for just the more simplified totals? I think that's what he's looking for, if I understand him correctly. He just wants to know basically the very most layman side of it.
When you say more simplified totals, are you talking about like per department?
No, not per department, just X amount in, X amount expenditure. If I understood what he was saying, that seemed to be the crux of what he was asking for, was he wanted to know how much was coming in total, how much was going out total.
Now, and again, we'll get into this more like in our workshops, but just so you all are aware, all revenues come into the trustee's office. Now they are accounted for on my books, but there's a lag there because we have to allow for that month to end for the trustees to reconcile their books and stuff, then to give me that information, and then I reconcile to match their revenue. So if I provided you all like a revenue and expense to match up to each other every month, which I can, it would have to be at least 2 months backlog. So you'd be getting October maybe right now. Where if I just provide you expenditures, I mean, I can give it to you December 1st, I can give you November's.
So just the thought to see if maybe we could.
It's not something I'm opposed to, I just think because of the nature of how it works, if you wanted it actually from my office and not from the trustee's office, there'd be a major time lag between the two, where I think the value of it may kind of diminish by that point.
Okay, there is a motion on the floor about Commissioner Lewis's request about a simplified budget arrangement in terms of what's coming in and what's going out and where we stand month to month. So that's what we're voting on. You got it? 13 noes, 6 yeas. So the vote fails.
If I can, just a little more, I have started attaching a running total of your fund balance to the end of your budget packet, just so you all can see kind of what we started with and the things we budgeted to come out. And that will kind of help a little bit come to that same idea. Again, if anybody wants more specific information for themselves, I'll be glad to give it to anybody, just let me know if you want. I think in general, the reports are there. If anybody needs help kind of comprehending exactly what they mean, I know they make sense to me, but I look at them every day. So if you don't, they may be a little convoluted. I'll be glad to explain it to you.
Thank you. I was remiss, Council, we missed your report. So.
Okay. The litigation update, I actually have some litigation to update on this month. Of course, you all may have saw in the paper, there was a lawsuit filed naming Carter County as the party and Constable Barney Brown. Apparently there's been a federal lawsuit filed as well. I have not seen that, nor has the county been served with that to my knowledge. But there was a state court claim filed in circuit court, and that has been served by the county and has been forwarded to our insurance carrier, who will provide defense for the county in that matter. And if anybody has any specific questions about that, I'll be glad to answer them with you all individually. But for now, the update is it's been filed, and the answer will be forthcoming. As far as the other work, generally, of course, as always, anybody who asks for research or opinions, I try my best to get it to you quickly. We finalized the Dennis Cove Road easement adoption this month, and I will forward the minutes that were approved tonight to finish that process completely. I've detailed on my report, which I provide every month, the various offices and things that I've done work for this month. So other than that, unless there's any specific questions, that's all I have. Yes, sir.
Mr. Attorney, the lawsuit against the county, can the county court actually be held accountable for the vote to, I can't even recall, I think it was in the previous administration. Was it to reinstate him or to approve him as a
Well, just speaking generally about it, my understanding is that at one point he was elected by the people, and then he resigned and was reappointed by the commission. But my understanding is he was reelected by the citizens of Carter County in 2014. So that being the case, the commission would have had nothing to do with that.
The commission would what?
Had nothing to do with that. He was reelected in a countywide general election in 2014, I understand. So that would have been beyond this commission's purview.
Thank you. Any other commission comments? Commissioner Ward.
I have a question for the lawyer. It's been brought to our attention tonight from a group of citizens that we're missing some product or some deep freezer from the animal shelter. I'd like to ask you to investigate that because that was county property.
I certainly will, and that was asked of me in the animal shelter meeting, and I did make a note of that. I have not done it, but I will be glad to do it.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I can clarify this matter tonight. It was not county property. The freezer that was there was a vendor. It was being used to store the cadavers for sale, and the vendor picked that up, sir.
You have a receipt for that?
There was 2 freezers there.
I can tell you about the freezer was picked up and by the vendor, sir. It's a vendor product.
Again, I ask you have a receipt for that, sir?
Who's the vendor? One was picked up. the other was lost.
That equipment was in your jurisdiction. You were responsible for that equipment, sir.
Commissioner Lyons, a different subject, if I could, Chairman. This is something that's kind of been on my mind for a while, because I was directly involved in trying to get some people on the animal shelter, as you all remember, to try to get that transition team together and trying to get that settled down to a great extent. And I think a wonderful job has been done on that. Now, that being said, my question is, I guess it's for Attorney Harden, or it may just be all the commission. Should we be paying those people that are sitting on those boards now, just like in the committees that we're sitting on, building the grounds, for example, for me, $50? I know Mr. Peters has spent a lot of time, not only on transition, I think, but also sitting on that board now. And I know 2 or 3 other people. I know Mr. Darden is also, I think, sitting on the board. I don't know if he's getting paid for that now. But it's kind of one of those things that's come back to my mind. And I hate for some of us to be treated one way for our committee work, and others treated a different way and not being compensated for it. I don't know if I'm making myself clear or not.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm still trying to clear my head, sir.
No, I got you perfectly, and I did research that. There was questions about specific committees, and agriculture committee was one. My opinion is this, after what I looked at, I think the county commission can set a salary or payment for attending committee meetings for commissioners. If members of the public serve on a committee, like the agriculture committee, without specific statutory authority or a private act, I don't think that we can pay private citizens who are non-elected commissioners.
I was speaking specifically for county commissioners.
Certainly. So I think the county commission can. So for the county commission members on the animal shelter board or the agriculture board, I think the county commission can set a payment for those committees as all the others. But just for the commission, I do think it can do it.
Okay, thank you, sir. With that being said, I could make a motion if I could do that. I don't know if it's out of order to do that at this point. Do it. I would make a motion that the county commissioners that are sitting on boards, particularly committees or boards, presently, and that are not being compensated, that they be compensated just like any of the rest of us that are sitting on building grounds, for example, or whatever other board. I'll make that in form of motion.
Retroactive.
Is there a second on? I'm going to make it retroactive.
Second.
Okay, there's a second by Commissioner Campbell. Now discussion. Commissioner Von Canton, you have your hand up.
Mr. Attorney, you did indicate that Mr. Peters should be compensated?
No, not for the transition portion. I'm talking about the actual commission members who serve on that committee
There
now.
are other committees that receive no remuneration, as it were. For example, Mr. Garland chairs the agriculture committee. How does he apply for back pay?
Well, that would be a question for you all, but I believe that elected county commissioners can be compensated for service on committees, and this commission set that compensation. But the ordinary citizens who serve on some of those committees cannot, absent a statute or private act, say we can.
Commissioner Lyons, did you have a comment? And then Commissioner Gronstadt. I was just going to try to clarify. I wasn't talking about the transition being paid for that, but presently sitting on committees. Commissioner Gronstadt.
I just want to say, this was actually up in budget in November, correct? And budget at that time made the recommendation. I think they talked to you, or was going to talk to you, to have you kind of look into it, but it was actually sent from budget to rules and bylaws to actually look and see what changes would need to be made to policy to actually allow that. I don't know if that impacts, but that was something that did occur.
Commissioner Trivett?
I went to two committees one day, one for the highway, representing from Mr. Ron Cannon, and one for the budget meeting that night. I didn't get paid for one committee, and so did Mr. Lewis. Now, what about that?
What Mr. Jenkins would probably tell you is that Rules and Bylaws is actually working on a resolution that may be able to fix that issue. We had it prepared for this month, but their meeting got canceled. So I've looked at that as well. And I think, in my opinion, I think that's something that could be remedied as well.
That's in the past, but from here on, they may change it, right?
Correct, yes.
Mr. Chairman? Yes, sir. The only thing I would suggest is proceed with caution, because this committee knows, or this commission knows, or maybe not. We've gotten into situations where we were in violation of state statutes when it comes to paying people for sitting on boards. A great example is the Parks and Rec situation. You know, the statute was clear. It was a 5-member board. None of those people were being compensated. But we had to go to Nashville and make a request for a private act, which we weren't given a private act, but we were given a change in statute for a county this size to create a board where we can make those payments. An agricultural committee, as far as I'm concerned, would have to check that again, county attorney, but I think it specified that it was a non-paid board. So in those cases, if the commission overrides that statute, if it clearly outlines that, then we've got a problem. So I would be cautious about.
Yeah, I agree. Certainly, the statute says that. I researched the agricultural statute. I didn't see a word in there about compensation either way.
Okay.
So I think the general rule is the county commission can set the pay for commissioners who serve on official committees of the county commission. I mean, that's if it's a committee authorized and participated in by county commissioners, those commissioners can be compensated. The Parks and Rec, yes, when there's private citizens on it, the statute was actually amended, the general law was amended to allow it, and I can't remember or say what was going on beforehand with that one, but I know now that it does say that. Obviously, the general rule is if the statutes do not give us the authority, then we don't have the authority. But there are statutes that deal with setting compensation of the county commission and duly authorized committees thereof. So if the agricultural commission is that, and county commissioners serve on it, then I think they can be compensated. That's my opinion. But I certainly will double check that.
Okay, well, we have a motion that was seconded to offer up reimbursement for those commissioners on committees, which is an official function for them to be paid. Commissioner Garland and Commissioner Hope.
Yeah, I would be happy to accept that money. I don't want to sound selfish at all, but one thing I would like to ask if that is it's within the commission budget money that is available. I wouldn't want to take what's left of the budget year, take it out of general fund.
There wouldn't be any.
It's there. Thank you.
Commissioner Hope.
Do you know how many different offices or commissioners we're talking about? Is it just agriculture, or are we talking about 5 people, 10 people? What's the financial impact?
I think there would be 3 for animal shelter committee. There would be 3 for agriculture.
Don Candace and Mr. Jenkins.
Right. And I think we're good. I think everybody else receives reimbursement on committees on which they serve. Is that correct?
There's a Records and Archives Committee, myself and Mr. Travis on that.
That the motion would, as I understand it, would also.
I haven't looked specifically at archives and library.
Just if we make it a sweeping thing that covers everything, just to be aware of what the number of applications are.
Commissioner Jenkins and then Commissioner Meehan.
Could I make a friendly amendment that we push this back to rules and bylaws and give the attorney time to further look
the other boards, that way we can just do this in one sweep.
Right.
Get with it.
Yeah, it'd be great if I knew exactly which committees we were talking about, and I know specifically each one. Because it truly is a case-by-case basis on these, some of them.
Mr. Lyons, would you be willing to accept that as a friendly amendment?
I'll be glad to do that if we can do it by the next meeting, please.
It would include the next meeting.
Mr. Rico,
Yes, sir.
I have another question. I'm on the records committee. We only get paid $25. So why not get paid 50 like every rest commission?
Well, then obviously this motion would take care of that. If we send it back to rules and bylaws, they would make things equitable. In discussion with the county attorney. Mr. Chair,
I'm not even mistake myself, this might be a matter for financial management.
well, I think prior to January meeting, if the chairs of both of those committees could get together, and I think you, as rules and bylaws, you certainly put together the rules and bylaws that we follow. I think it includes Commissioner Payne on this stuff, does it not? And then financial management to weigh in on it too, just as long as we had it prior to January, if the amendment is a friendly one, I hear that it is. Mr. Carroll.
Are we creating an issue here? I'm on education, landfill, and highway, and I get paid for one. Why shouldn't I get paid for all three? I'm doing the same thing.
Right. Technically, those are, the actual statute talks about a day's meeting. I don't think it contemplates having two groupings of meetings in two separate days, like the budget committee issue that we talked about before, where highway meets at one time in one place, and budget meets another place, and somebody fills in. But when you actually sit down in one, in a room, and you have 4 meetings back to back together, that's really contemplated, I think, by statute as a day's meetings.
Is it a meeting or a trip?
I think it'd be the one meeting. I mean, I understand there's 4 separate, distinct meetings, but it's one.
Well, we do get paid separate for the highway. The highway is one meeting, and the landfill and education is another meeting.
Because they're different days.
So we're getting paid for both of those.
Right, I think that grouping the committees together in 3 and 4 has ultimately saved the county a lot of money over the years. Technically, you can separate them all out, and you can have 20 meetings a month. I think the grouping was right.
Meeting. If you're gonna pay for meetings, you're gonna pay for meetings.
I understand what you're saying.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, there is a scriptural principle not to muzzle the ox that grinds the corn. And we have people who have professional skills and opinions who were voted into the position of commissioner to aid and assist in the government and the governing of the people of this county. I think it's wrong to minimize compensation for their time. Because a lot of these people do work and take time out of their family and or their work to participate in sometimes very long meetings. If you had to pay a professional for a 4-hour meeting, it wouldn't be $50 for 4 hours for that professional. It would be a whole lot more money. So I think it is a wise investment to pay the $50 for the meeting for the commissioners who have been voted in to assist in the governance of the people. And the principle of the fact that maybe 2 meetings fall on the same day, and a commissioner sits on one meeting and may have to assist or fill in for another, I don't think they should be penalized for filling in on the other by not getting paid for that, because there were 2 meetings in that day. If there's 2 separate meetings, there's 2 different things that they're speaking to and assisting in the county. their compensation, I think, should be made for 2 separate meetings. So I think the rules and bylaws and financial management should take this into account. $50 for a meeting is not a whole lot of money when you're talking about the input that you're getting from people who have professional and other backgrounds that they can contribute to the governance of this county.
Thank you. Commissioner James?
Mr. Meehan, we just discussed this. We brought that up. We're discussing it in rules and bylaws. Next month, we will have it in a motion or in a resolution or rule change. Just what you just discussed. I just told you. I think we're just spinning our wheels here tonight. I mean, get no action done. We have some of this stuff in works. I'm sorry I canceled rules and bylaws, and we would have had all this settled tonight. I feel bad now. I wish I wouldn't have canceled it now. We've got most of this stuff covered. Coming up, I promise.
Okay, there is a motion. Second, with the amendment, a friendly amendment on the floor to send this back and readdress it at the January meeting. Send it to Rules and Bylaws and Financial Management, but then talk about it in discussion with the attorney. So, Madam Chair, call the roll. One ayes, one nay. Motion passes. Okay, if there are no other items, Commissioner Hill, I saw your hand first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to put out a request that when we're expected to consider projects like this park thing that we discussed earlier tonight, that more of the pertinent information be included in our research packet. I was a no, I'll be honest with you, I was a no when I came in here, and kudos to you, Chris Schuler, you explained the questions that I had several consumer complaints, citizen complaints or concerns raised about where are we going to put all the cars, et cetera. And I couldn't give a good answer because there was nothing in my lap. Couldn't get the chairman of the Parks and Rec Committee on the phone. And what we had was just one thin, appraisal report. So in the future, and I think it's a great deal. I think we made the right decision tonight. We effectively bought a pair of slacks at the Gap for 60-70% off the retail. So it's a good decision, but I would like to see more. I would like to see more information in the packet, if at all possible, going forward. And that's all I've got.
Those of you that were not here for the Hometown Heroes missed, in my opinion, one of the better situations that we've had with George Papantonio. I love his group accident. The Roan Mountain Group, Eric Anderson, and I'm sure one of our commissioners, Mr. Hill, is active in that group. Nobody is more deserving of improvement than Mr. McQueen, and Bill Lyons and his wife are regular participants of this Carter County legislative body. I would say that this in favor of Mr. Garland. He does an excellent job in the agriculture. I've got the ideas, but he's got the job. But it is gratifying to see you young people that are here. All of you look like you're 30. But I found out that some of them are 45, 48. But this is the American system. You know, I don't believe that you should trash the county mayor the way you do. But what does it say? It says, nobody trashes Tennessee. And in my life, very few people have ever trashed me. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Von. Commissioner Campbell?
We shot the picture of the land where this walk up, showed the picture, space of earth. I would just like to ask Mr. Josh if that was his house that falls off of it.
If there is no further business.
I think Willie's Wonderland showed up.
Mr. Johnson?
Nobody's covered tonight, I was kind of surprised, but, you know, we've had lines drawn in here, and we've had some heated arguments over here. We've accomplished a whole lot. But just think the season that we're in, I'm gonna, and my family wants to wish everyone that's America. And a happy New Year. And did it. And the next thing is, if you have to drink and drive,